Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. As I head out of town very shortly, I'd like to leave you with this very special segment. I have the pleasure to have David Harper joining me, so please enjoy. Thank you so much for agreeing to come join me. I know I have been being asked for ages because I spoke with Mary and Eric and Cammie and John. And so everyone's like, when are you going to talk with David? And I'm like, we'll see. If I can, I will. But, so they are going to be over the moon. I've been hinting since we spoke that we had it in the works and you were trying to get your Wi-Fi happening. So I can't tell you how excited everyone's going to be that I got you.
Well, I look forward to your questions. Go down memory lane a little bit here.
Yeah, it's been so fascinating to me to speak with each of you, because usually when we get together, we might talk about things connected with the show or times we shared, but we talk real life and we talk other things. And so to hear the perspective of each of you about aspects of the show and experiences you were having that I may not have been there for, or I may not have known were happening. I lived in my own little bubble a lot of the times. And I think as we often are when we're young, we're very focused on ourselves. And I know I was very self-centered at times. And so what everybody else was doing, I may not have known what people were experiencing, filming or in their personal lives all the time. So,
yeah. Well, you know what? It was a lot of work. And, at some point, I think we were all on automatic pilot, just trying to get through the day, especially with those arduous dinner scenes. But yeah, I couldn't watch myself for years. And, then Inspiration and Hallmark started showing it. And now after like 50 years, I can go back and watch it with total objectivity, kind of like, anybody. And I still have a little trouble watching myself when I'm in a scene, but I can go back and kind of go, wow, this was a good show. I can't think of a single episode where I didn't choke up a little bit. And I'm sure.
Do you find that odd? I mean, sometimes when I've watched episodes that I was really featured in and something about it, then I find myself choking up and I feel a little odd because like I'm watching something I did and it's making me cry. And so it seems odd sometimes. Do you have that thought at all?
Not in that regard, just in regard to the content, because the stories and the performances and stuff. And, it was very reaffirming in a lot of ways. I mean, we weren't totally sanitized. We had blemishes and all, but I'm almost at the point now where I've seen the majority of episodes at least 3 or 4 times. For a long time, I didn't care for the later seasons after Richard had left. But then I decided I liked them because they weren't like the first 5 seasons, but they were still good in their own right. And so, and, I don't know about you, but when I watch myself on a particular episode, I might have a memory of it, but more times than not, it's like, I have no memory of that, So, I have to laugh. Sometimes I have good memories, but they're all snippets. I sometimes wonder if it's just been so long or that some of them might have actually been repressed memories, because I did not enjoy the waiting around, because we spent a lot of time waiting. It was great when we were actually working, but just kind of sitting around trying to find ways to entertain ourselves, they got really old. But maybe in regards to the dinner scenes, it's like, yeah, I do not want to remember that. But I love the way Ralph used to tell those corny jokes to keep us sane. I mean, those all day just doing one dinner scene, and you couldn't wait for them to end. But when I think back about the humor that we brought, and Ralph's jokes were so corny.
Yeah.
They were so corny. It's just what we needed. And I can recite a couple of them too, but
Some of
So
them were a
yeah.
little off color.
Oh, well, most of them were.
Yeah.
Like I'll see an episode with John Ritter in it, and I'll think back, God, he was just so much fun to be around. And I've watched him on some other shows. I forget that show he did when he passed away. I think Kaylee Cuoco from Big Bang Theory played his daughter. And if I ever ran into her, I would bring up John because I'm sure they adored him as much as we did. I love seeing our alumni. Like if I see Ivan Dixon on an old movie, and of course I love Larry Dobkin too. When I see somebody that knew some of our people, right before the show ended, and I did that Civil War movie in Arkansas, The Blue and the Gray. Just a few weeks earlier, Ivan was there and he stopped in. He knew that I was going to be working on it at some point. I missed him, but one of the crew guys, or I don't know, one of the assistant directors or whatever, said, "Yeah, Ivan was asking about you."
Aw.
And that just warms my heart.
Yeah, I
So
loved Ivan. He was always so sweet and so great to work with. And he had such an amazing history as an actor, as a director, just as a human being, the work, the humanitarian and civil rights work that he did. He had quite a legacy.
All my favorite directors that we had were actors first. I didn't know that Lee Phillips was an actor before he became a director, but certainly Larry Dobkin and Ivan Dixon and
Alf Shalene had been an actor.
Ice Station Zebra.
Yeah.
So it was really wonderful, and I think a lot of us were too young to appreciate who they were at the time. But and I like watching the old episodes to see the credits because it gives me a chance to remember some of the wonderful crew people that we had. We did start to change crews quite often after Richard left, and I think I told you about that documentary on John Chambers. It was one of the last interviews that Bob Seidel did.
Our makeup artist.
For those who don't know, Bob Seidel was our makeup artist for the first 5 seasons, and I don't know if anybody's interested, but one of our other makeup people was Bill Reynolds. That's Debbie Reynolds' brother. So, and he was a lot of fun to be around too. So
it's wonderful to have been there and be able to experience that generation of talent that we were privileged to work with.
I can still hardly believe it's been 50 years.
I know, crazy.
Time moves so quickly, and it's constantly slipping through our fingers. And I'm sure you know this too. You reach a certain age, and you just become philosophical about everything. You kind of have to, right? So nothing wrong with that.
When the series ended, I know it took a while for me to make peace with the fact that I was going to be associated with the Waltons forever. Like I wanted to sort of move on and feel like I had other aspects to my life, that my whole career wasn't going to be just about the Waltons. And so I wanted, I was doing other work, and I wanted people to appreciate and recognize other work I was doing beyond just the Waltons. So it took me a while to come back to embracing the legacy. And I mean, I was always proud of the show, but really to come back to a point of recognizing just how relevant the stories still are and the amazing people we got to, and what a gift it was. I mean, I always appreciated it, but really came back to saying that's okay if people remember that, if it's my epitaph, it's on my gravestone, whatever, I'm okay with that. Which at a point in my time, I was like, no, I'm more than just that. And I know that I am, and I feel like I don't have to prove that anymore. So,
Yeah. Before I forget, my cousin told me to tell you that Mary Ellen was her favorite character. And she said, yeah, she did teen angst better than anybody I've ever seen.
It's because I was going through teen angst.
Oh, well, yeah, it helps. You're not acting so much, but and I said to her, accepting the adults next to Richard, for us younger people, you were the second best actress or actor on the show. And part of that's because you had such great material. You
Yes.
really did. And people comment on that a lot. And yeah, I like the very early episodes when we're all young and very cute.
Well,
There's
everyone I felt was so natural. I mean, that's one of the things that I always thought about your work, and I still do. And what I hear comments about is you, I mean, Cammie, same thing. I mean, you were both so young, and yet I can't say I ever once in all the seasons caught you acting. I just felt like you were always just there and present and delivering your lines and not trying to make anything more than just the honesty of what it was. And that's such a
I
gift.
I had only done a couple things before the show. I think the homecoming was only my third thing I had done. I got hired on my very first interview, which was for an NBC movie of the week. It was a Western with Ernest Borgnine. I think I was 8. And we filmed about half of it. And then they fired me. I was supposed to be a horse thief, but I was a little too short to get on a horse without help. Even though I was replaced, I still used to get residuals because they kept my night riding shots.
Wow.
So I wasn't old enough. I didn't have enough experience to even think about, how I act. All I knew was remember your lines. And, I guess trying to be believable was just, it's all I ever wanted to do was, is to be believable. And, you couple that with a certain amount of disinterest, it's like, it's just a big thing of pretend, certainly for us in the beginning, it was great fun. Then, the long days, it became work and stuff, but even though we were hired to be a family, we were a family. So a lot of it just came very easy to us.
That's what I have for you for this segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons as I spoke with David Harper. I'll be back with more Behind the Scenes of the Waltons, more Ask Judy, and more with David Harper. Thanks for watching.